RIBO Education. World War I. Introduction. World War I, 1914 to 1918, was a global conflict involving the major powers of the time. It arose from political rivalries and expansionism. The war was fought on multiple fronts, employing tactics like trenches and the use of new technologies. There was a significant number of casualties, and the war reshaped the global political map. The Treaty of Versailles brought the conflict to an end, imposing heavy penalties on Germany, and the League of Nations was established to prevent future wars. The conflict left a lasting impact on society and served as a precursor to World War II. Context and causes. 1. Imperialism and nationalism. European powers vied for colonies and resources worldwide, creating tensions and rivalries among nations. 2. Alliance system. Countries like Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire formed the Triple Alliance, while France, Russia, and the United Kingdom constituted the Triple Entente. These agreements increased the likelihood of a global conflict. 3. Assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. On June 28, 1914, the heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was assassinated in Sarajevo by a Serbian nationalist. This event triggered a series of declarations of war. Conflict development. 1. Western and Eastern fronts. The war unfolded on two primary fronts. The Western Front focused on the struggle between Germany and France in trenches along the French and Belgian borders. The Eastern Front involved Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary. 2. War tactics. Trench warfare became a defining feature of the conflict on the Western Front. Both sides engaged in a brutal war of attrition. 3. New technologies. Airplanes, tanks, chemical weapons, and submarines were employed, signifying a significant shift in military tactics. Significant events. 1. Sinking of the RMS Lusitania. 1915, the German submarine U-20 sank the British ship RMS Lusitania, resulting in the deaths of nearly 1,200 people, including 128 Americans. This contributed to the entry of the United States into the war. 2. Russian Revolution. 1917, the Russian Revolution overthrew the Tsarist regime and brought the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, to power. 3. Entry of the United States. 1917, after a series of provocations, such as the Zimmermann telegram and the sinking of American ships by German submarines, the United States joined the Allies. Consequences and treaties. 1. Treaty of Versailles. 1919 officially ended the conflict and placed the blame for the war on Germany. It imposed severe economic and territorial sanctions on Germany. 2. Territorial changes. The maps of Europe and the Middle East were redrawn, and new countries like Poland, Yugoslavia, and Czechoslovakia emerged. 3. Human losses. The war caused an enormous loss of human lives, with millions of soldiers and civilians perishing. 4. Precursor to World War II. The conditions imposed on Germany and the unresolved tensions laid the groundwork for the outbreak of World War II. Long-term impact. 1. Sociopolitical change. The war led to significant social and political changes, including the fall of empires and the emergence of new political systems. 2. Development of international organizations. The League of Nations was established in an attempt to prevent future international conflicts. 3. Collective trauma. World War I left a deep mark on the society and culture of the time. RIBO Education. Today's video is about World War II. Introduction. World War II was a military conflict that took place between 1939 and 1945, involving the majority of the world's nations, including all the major powers, which eventually aligned themselves into two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis powers. Main causes *. 1. Treaty of Versailles, 1919. The conditions imposed on Germany after World War I led to deep resentment and discontent within the country. Many Germans felt that the treaty's terms were unjust and humiliating. 2. Expansion of the Axis powers * Germany, Italy, and Japan formed an alliance known as the Axis powers, with the aim of expanding their territories and exerting influence over other nations. 3. Appeasement policy * The appeasement policy was a strategy adopted by some Western powers, especially France and the United Kingdom, seeking to avoid war by appeasing Hitler's territorial demands. This ultimately only encouraged his aggression. 4. Invasions and territorial expansions * Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, leading to the entry of Great Britain and France into the war. Afterward, a series of invasions and territorial expansions took place in Europe and Asia. 5. Attack on Pearl Harbor, 1941. Japan attacked the naval base of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, leading the United States to join the war on the side of the Allies. Main fronts of the war. 1. European front. Significant battles were fought in Europe, including the Battle of Stalingrad, which proved to be a major turning point, D-Day Normandy landings, and the liberation of Paris. 2. Pacific Front. In the Pacific, Allied forces battled Japan in a series of significant engagements including the Battle of Midway, Battle of Iwo Jima, and Battle of Okinawa. Key events. 1. Holocaust. During the war, the Nazis carried out the systematic genocide known as the Holocaust, resulting in an estimated 6 million Jews and millions of other individuals being murdered. 2. Major conferences. Several crucial conferences were held among the Allied leaders, such as the Casablanca Conference, Tehran Conference, Yalta Conference, and Potsdam Conference, where surrender terms and the post-war world order were discussed. 3. Atomic bombings. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, leading to Japan's unconditional surrender and the end of the war in the Pacific. Consequences. 1. Human and material costs. World War II was the deadliest conflict in human history, resulting in an estimated 70 to 85 million casualties. 2. Shift in power balance. After the war, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, marking the onset of the Cold War. 3. Formation of the UN. The United Nations was established in 1945 to promote international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. 4. Decolonization. Many colonies seized the weakened state of European colonial powers after the war to pursue their independence. Technological innovations. Military technology. World War II witnessed significant advances in military technology. Jet aircraft, more advanced tanks, sophisticated submarines, and weapons like Germany's V-2 missiles were introduced. Enigma code. The Germans used an encryption machine called Enigma for secure communication. The Allies, particularly the British, managed to decipher these messages, giving them a crucial strategic advantage. Effects on society. Social transformations. The war had a profound impact on society. For instance, women took on more prominent roles in the workforce, and in some cases, even joined the armed forces. Refugees and displaced persons. The war resulted in a large number of refugees and displaced individuals who lost their homes and homelands due to occupation and combat. Nuremberg trials. After the war, the Nuremberg trials were held, in which Nazi leaders were prosecuted for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and conspiracy to commit aggression. RIBO education. Cold War. The Cold War was a period of political and military tension that primarily occurred between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies, from the end of World War II in 1945 to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Although there was no direct military conflict between these two superpowers, numerous power struggles and regional conflicts took place in different parts of the world, influenced by the rivalry between the blocs led by the USA and the USSR. Causes of the Cold War. Ideological. The Cold War primarily arose from deep ideological differences between capitalism represented by the United States and communism represented by the Soviet Union. Superpower competition. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the two global superpowers with significant global and economic influence. Differences in political and economic stance. The United States advocated for a democratic system and a free market economy, while the Soviet Union advocated for a communist system and centrally planned economy. The Iron Curtain and the Iron Curtain. The term Iron Curtain was coined by Winston Churchill in a speech in 1946 to describe the division between Western and Eastern Europe, with the Soviet Union exerting influence over the countries of Eastern Europe. The Iron Curtain referred to the ideological and physical division between the Western and Eastern blocs, which led to the creation of the Warsaw Pact, allies of the Soviet Union, and NATO, allies of the United States. Notable crises and conflicts. Korean War, 1950 to 1953, conflicts between North Korea, backed by the USSR and China, and South Korea, supported by the United States and the UN. Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962, a crisis that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war when Soviet nuclear missiles were discovered in Cuba. Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975, Northern Communists, supported by the USSR and China, fought against the Southern government, backed by the United States. Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, 1979 to 1989, the Soviet Union intervened in Afghanistan to support the Afghan Communist government, leading to a protracted war and active involvement by the United States through funding and support for rebel groups. Arms race and space race. The superpowers vied for nuclear arms superiority, leading to the massive accumulation of nuclear weapons. They also competed for achievements in space, marked by milestones such as the USSR's launch of Sputnik in 1957 and the US Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969. The end of the Cold War. The Cold War came to an end in the late 1980s and early 1990s with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev played a crucial role by introducing reforms that led to openness and democratization, glasnost, as well as the restructuring of the Soviet economy, perestroika. Additionally, Gorbachev oversaw the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Eastern Europe. Espionage and intelligence race ***. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union conducted extensive espionage and counter-espionage operations in an attempt to gather information about each other's activities and plans. Organizations like the CIA in the United States and the KGB in the Soviet Union played significant roles in this field. Doctrine of Containment ***. The strategy of containment was a key policy adopted by the United States. It was formulated by diplomat George F. Kennan and aimed to contain the spread of communism, preventing its expansion into new countries or regions. This strategy led to military interventions and economic support in various countries around the world. Nuclear arms race ***. The Cold War was characterized by a nuclear arms race, where both superpowers amassed large nuclear arsenals. This accumulation of nuclear weapons created a situation known as mutual assured destruction, MAD, where any large-scale nuclear attack would result in mutual annihilation. The 1968 Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, was an attempt to control the proliferation of nuclear weapons and promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Decolonization and national liberation movements ***. The Cold War coincided with a period of decolonization in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Many national liberation movements received ideological and material support from both the Eastern and Western blocs. Technological and cultural developments ***. The Cold War drove technological advancements, such as the development of rocket technology and computing, partly in response to the need to outpace the adversary. It also influenced popular culture and propaganda, leading to a rich production of films, books, and music centered around the rivalry between the blocs.